On this episode of Content Sessions, we talked to Vanessa Holding from Arc and Crown Media. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad we got to do this finally.
Yeah.
My bad, because I was in Mexico for a while.
I'm excited.
So thanks for coming on. Tell me about your business.
So I run a video production company, and I like to say that we help our clients tell their important, complex, and sometimes even boring information in a way that gets attention and compels action.
Got it.
So we have sort of four main categories that we operate in. That is employee engagement videos, corporate communications videos, which are often kind of internal communication needs, learning and development, so training and online assessment videos, and then the last one being branded content.
Awesome. And how long have you had the business for?
We are coming up on 4 years in the fall.
Shit, congratulations.
Thank you.
You passed the hump.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I've been told 5 years is sort of the hump, so I'm looking forward to that milestone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're locally here based in Toronto?
Yeah, so we actually work out of home offices, and then we also operate sometimes out of the Soho House.
Got it.
Yeah.
I love it. There's a lot of people that have operations in the Soho House.
Yeah, it's a good central location. A lot of our clients actually have offices around there, so it's been useful for us.
Makes sense. Perfect. And is it, are you the founder just on your own, or do you have
No, so I co-own the business. So I've always come from the more client relationship, business development side of things, project management, and then my business partner actually comes from a post-production background. So I kind of consider the yin to my yang. She's very much our technical guru. Anything goes wrong on your computer or on your camera or anything, we always call her. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then so you guys at the same time, so how did you guys come together to start it? Did you know each other from before, or? Yeah,
we actually worked at a video production company together.
Got it.
And it was a small company, so we kind of saw the ins and outs of how it was run and what we didn't like about it and sort of our visions for what we would like to do. So it was sort of a discussion that came about, and then we took some time to start, thinking about our own business and what that could look like. And then because I was more of the front-facing salesperson, I left the company first. So I left in June of 2015, and then really took like a month or two to develop a business plan and start networking. And then she left in October of 2015. So that's when we kind of see it as our sort of official start date, because really when she joined is when things started taking off. We actually started creating work and getting paid jobs.
Love those first couple. They're so exciting. And so what was your background before that? Like, where'd you come from?
So I went to the University of Toronto for a program called Communication, Culture, Information Technology, which is a mouthful. But it was really interesting, and I highly recommend it to a lot of young people that are interested in media, especially video production, because I graduated not only with a degree in digital communications from Sheridan College. The degree was from UFT, and then I had a digital certificate from Sheridan College. So it was a joint program, and I got the hands-on experience. So from there, I was interning when I was in school for a small production company.
Right.
And interestingly enough, that production company changed hands while I was there. I won't go into too many details, but the owner basically fell in love and sold the business and moved to Germany.
Got it.
And so somebody who worked at the company took it over, but they weren't truly experienced in managing a business. So I sort of got, a fast-paced learner's guide to running a business, because I started, taking on a much larger role at the company. And I ended up getting sort of poached by a client of ours to work at a small tech startup, doing marketing for them. And that was really interesting, but it was a chaotic startup. And after a little while, I really realized that what I liked about what I did in producing was I got to work with so many different clients and learn about different companies and then, do video work for them versus working for one company all the time. So I ended up going back into production. And then after another 2 years, I started my own business.
Got it. So it's funny that you give a lot of love and credit to the program that you were in. I interviewed a director. He does like a bunch of music videos, and he went, I can't remember the name, I can't remember what school it was, but he was saying that there was like almost no hands-on, and they didn't, he goes, I don't know what we were supposed to have learned. It just felt like someone was trying to tell us what they knew about, and they were trying to force whatever information they wanted down our throats, and he actually had a lot of negative things to say. So that's interesting, that in a very similar space. But
I think I really enjoyed the mix of the university and the college styles of teaching.
Got it.
Because university, you really learn how to learn, and you learn how to write well, which from my understanding is a sort of a dying skill. And
it's dead in my, it's dead to me, so I don't know.
And then the college stuff, of course, the hands-on, information that you get is invaluable, but being able to actually test it out, because then once you go into the real world, people ask you, what have you done, what have you worked on, and you could at least say, well, I did this project,
right?
Or
something
I
tangible.
have something to show for it.
Absolutely. And then your co-founder, was she like pure technical?
Yeah, so I think she went to school for post-production, and after that kind of bounced around at a few different post-production houses, and then also regular production companies, but in a post-production role.
Got it. And so take me through kind of the start of the business. What was your first client? How did you get your first client?
First client was, I believe, a friend who works at a financial institution, and her and her family have sort of a group there. They're investment advisors, and they were looking at doing a video that was sort of like a series. So they would have these lunch and learns where thought leaders would come in and share information to their clients, but only a certain amount of people could attend. Sure. They were in the middle of the day, so we would record the speakers, but instead of like their full half an hour long presentation or whatever it was, we would distill that down into 2 minutes. And then each of the advisors on the team would do their own like individual introduction, so that they could send that out to their specific clients. And it was like, hey, here's an investment opportunity, or here's some information about tax rebates or whatever it was.
Right.
And if you want to learn more, contact me. So it's kind of like almost like teaser content information that they could send out, and then hopefully people would contact them for more information.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious about how did you come up with the name?
Yeah, everyone asks about it just because it is a fairly unusual name.
Yeah.
So Arc and Crown Media. Arc is in reference to a narrative arc in a story.
Okay.
So a narrative arc I'm sure most people have heard of. There's sort of the beginning, the rising action, a climax, and then a resolution. And we just thought that always spoke to us because we believe all videos tell great stories. And then Crown connotes royalty, so the idea is story is king.
Okay. That makes more sense than I thought it was going to. Not that I didn't think you were going to make sense, but yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Cool. And so have you, kind of through the course of the business, have you guys always been in with those pillars? Was it something else that transformed into what you're doing now?
Yeah, so it was interesting because when we started out, and I've been the forward-facing person of this company, I think the most interesting thing was that I went from being able to say all of these things about the production company that I used to work for, like we have this many employees and we work with these brands and we've been around for 26 years and whatever it was, to basically having to sell myself.
Right.
And so at the beginning, a lot, we cast a fairly wide net, the 3 categories that we operate in. And we still operate in, but we just, I think, look at it from a different lens now. We're marketing videos, event videos, and e-learning videos.
Okay.
And, during those initial, few years, a lot of people would ask us, what is your niche and what do you specialize in? And I think it did just take us a little time to flesh that out.
Sure.
I don't know if you know Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, which has become really popular.
It's on my phone. I still haven't got it.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it. It sort of talks about finding what you love about what you do and then focusing on that, because if you have passion with what you do, you're much more likely to be successful at it.
Yeah.
So I read that book over a year and a half ago, and I'll be honest, it didn't just trigger something, and it took me a bunch of time of contemplation and exploring, and then it wasn't too long ago, only about 3 months ago actually, that something just triggered me. We did a video for a financial institution, and we had done a series of videos for them that were a little bit more simple, clean, branded look that were external facing for their website. Right. But then they came to us and they said, we want to do this internal video. We have won an award and we want to do something fun. And, one of their ideas was to do a music video set to Pharrell Williams' song Happy.
Oh, Jesus.
And it was sort of like a last minute thing, kind of a little bit thrown together. And when we got there on the shoot day, the marketing manager that we were working with was like, I don't know who's really into this. Like, you're going to have to kind of do what you can with it. And it ended up being such a fun day. And all the employees that we worked with really got into it. We had people dancing on tables, throwing confetti. One girl actually was like, I can do a backflip. So we got her like doing a backflip down the hallway as our, videographer is pulling back with a steady cam. And it was just so great and such a fun experience. And then when we, put it all together, a few weeks later, the marketing manager again came to us and just sent us a lovely email saying like, thank you so much for the energy that you brought. And it was such a success. We put it out there. Employees loved it. And, even people who didn't really want to participate were sort of like, jealous that
getting ready to put it on their Instagram.
Exactly, and jealous that they hadn't participated and want to participate in the next one. So that was, I think that kind of sparked something. And then I started thinking back to other projects that we have done. And another one kind of stood out in my mind where it was, a large transportation company, I'll say, and they were doing this video simply so that they can show their U.S. counterparts, like this event that they were putting on.
Right.
But I sort of took it upon myself to ask a bunch of, interesting questions and, why these individuals work for this company. And it ended up being such a great piece that the communications team told us that they cried watching it because it was like so heartwarming to learn about these employees' stories. Right. And so it was sort of a few things like that just made me realize like internal communications really is something that there's a lot of value there, I think, and there's value in video production in that space because it really can create emotion and connect with people. And I think that's what companies need to do more so than ever now.
Yeah, keep people, keep them engaged, keep them happy.
Exactly.
Right.
And make them feel valued and like they're a part of something. And also the learning side of thing was also something that surprised us a little because I remember 4 years ago around this time when I was writing my business plan, my business partner and I talking about it, and we wanted to focus more on the marketing side of things. And learning was like, yeah, we'll put that in there and we may do some learning videos. And then funny enough, one of the first few clients that we won was through an RFP, and it was a fairly large job for us. I remember actually like jumping up and down on the street when I found out we had won the contract. And they've been a client ever since and a great client of ours. And just the types of projects we've worked on with them have been really interesting. They've had set design and multi-cameras and hair and makeup and actors that have had to be cast and all these sort of larger production traits. So the learning and development side may seem unsexy or boring in some respects, but there was actually some surprising elements to it.
That's interesting. Yeah, and so when you just talked about RFPs, I've only ever written a couple, and I'm horrible at them. They suck. They suck to deal with. Do you guys do a lot of those?
I like RFPs for some reason. I get so many people who say, I'd never touch an RFP. I think you have to be good at spotting whether this company has already selected somebody or not. Oh. So I kind of look for certain things. Like if they put the RFP and they don't give you a long lead time, like they give you a couple of weeks, they know that, you need more time than that. So or I find if there's too much information, it's too detailed. I'm like, they've already spoken to somebody. Because what they've detailed the plan Exactly.
already.
Exactly. Because I've been on the reverse side where I've provided a quote and all this information and then they use that for the RFP. Right. So I find when the RFPs are a little bit more vague, they don't really know what they need yet, then it's more realistic that they're actually looking for somebody, number one.
Interesting.
Then also I disqualify ourselves if I feel like we can't meet something. Like some RFPs ask that you've been in business for 5 years. Right. Well, we haven't. So obviously that's out the door. Anything that I feel like will disqualify us, I will, I will not go into it. But I do have to say we recently landed not a full RFP, but a vendor of record contract for a very large government agency. And it was one of those things that I found out about it a week before it was due, and I had a really busy week, but I was like, I'm just going to do it. And it's one of those things that you kind of feel like, who knows, but we're a small business. This is a huge government company. But we did it, and we were one of so many companies that got selected as a vendor of record. So Sweet. I'm really excited for that opportunity.
And where do you find the majority of those? Do you have like a website that you use? Or
so Merx and Badingo, Buy and Sell. There's a few others, and now I'm also connected to We Connect International, which is an organization for women businesses.
Yeah, they've got a huge office, like literally in the corner.
Oh,
here.
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But they've been pretty good with. Like I actually just watched a webinar today about how to do business with Marriott hotels. So there's sort of opportunities there. I went to actually an event for Walmart and got to meet with the marketing team there and the learning and development team. And it's not necessarily like they are going to give me a call,
right?
But it was insightful to learn about their hiring practices and what they look for, and also I asked them what type of companies they work for or work with. So that's also good, because then you can kind of scope out the competition, see what they're doing, and how they landed a Walmart.
Right. Got it. God, you're good at this.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so I kind of want to stay on the topic of RFPs a little bit, but I don't really know what to ask because I don't really write them.
One other thing I will say about RFPs, because in a company I worked for, the biggest job I ever did was a $300,000 project for TransCanada, and I won that RFP, and I'm so proud of it. And it was solely because I think I asked the right questions, because it was like, they actually had a concept of like hiring a spokesperson but it was like a safety video,
right? And
they wanted that person to go like a host and go around, and I was like, we could just do this with B-roll and voiceover,
right?
And so I asked them a whole series of questions and kind of just dissected their RFP document, and they wanted to like fly us out to the States to meet us, and then we ended up not doing that.
Right.
And they just answered my questions. I asked more questions, then they answered them, and then they just hired us.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling we won that just because I was inquisitive,
right,
and asked the right questions. And then also told them, I think you're wrong. I don't think we should do this. I think this is what we should do, which is another thing that I think sometimes people are fearful of. Actually, the first RFP first one that my producer, Andrew, wrote and won, was for an association last year. And I think, again, we might have won that because we pitched them something different than what they were looking for. They were looking for an animation video, but whiteboard style. And my business partner hates whiteboard style animations.
Yeah, me too.
So we actually talked to our animator and pitched this style that we found a Chanel video that was really cool, that used actual historical photos mixed with motion graphic animation.
Got it,
and it was just really cool and different, and so they loved that style and sort of bought into that.
Cool. What would you say your biggest takeaway is for RFPs for the people that in different industries that are doing them? Like, what's your one oh, this is like the thing that I always keep in mind, or the thing that I always pay attention to, or is it super different every time?
No, out of everything, it is regurgitate back to them exactly what they want to hear. So I mean, I did just say you if you have a different idea, that's different,
right?
But in terms of they want to make sure you can follow details, and I've reviewed 50-page RFPs for healthcare companies and stuff, and I just go through and I read it all, and then I go through again and I highlight everything, then I go through my highlights and make notes, and then even after I've done the proposal, I go back and make sure I didn't miss anything. If they specify headings that they want, if they specify use this column chart, use it, and then just do it the way that they've laid it out, because that's step one, is making sure you can follow direction. I think so many people just get pushed to the side because they're not following the direction.
Got it. There you go. Marketing show over kids. Got it right there. Awesome. And so now you're saying that you obviously kind of had a recent epiphany, kind of a recent restructuring. So tell me a little bit about that, kind of where you're at, what are you doing now?
Yeah, so we're really excited because, as I mentioned, we just sort of discovered this new direction that we were already doing. Like we already were producing these types of videos.
You just defined it now?
Yeah, exactly. And instead of just, my sales pitch being, we offer video services, which I always knew was lame and just too general. Now I say, a little bit about what I said at the beginning was like, do you have a complex, important, or boring message that you need to get across? Because that's typically will resonate with communications people and learning development people.
Got it.
And then speak to the employee engagement and building culture and properly training employees in a dynamic way that, is the way that they already learn in the real world. Like nowadays we go to YouTube when we want to learn anything. So why not have a video gallery with a series of short module videos that your team can go to at any point in time, whether it's on the onboarding process or it's training for, a new sales technique, or it's, a new technology that you're implementing. So,
100%. Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, I think even with us, small marketing company, even like our onboarding process, even for clients, right? So we created a series. Now it's not video, but some of them were actually. But we basically created a private blog on our website. So in our onboarding, it's like, hey, grant us access to this thing, which sounds easy, but I don't know how to log into that. I don't know where I'd find the settings or this, I don't know where to find the user management tab. And so we created that for every scenario too. Like, so for example, with Facebook ads, there's different ways that you can run Facebook ads because Facebook just has a clusterfuck of things.
Okay.
And so it's like, if you created an account here, this is the step. And if you created the account here, this is the way. Because it's sometimes like even the user interface is different with different things with Facebook. It's crazy, but that's just how they work.
It just makes it more helpful for your customers.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? Like they're just reading through and they can just click on one thing and pop it up. Another thing that I've been playing with kind of on that topic is a thing called Cloud App. It's like it's like a picture markup thing. So you take like a screenshot and then you can do arrows and quickly add text. Oh, cool. But it also has it for videos. So you can do like walkthroughs. And then all you do is once it's done, as soon as you click save, it saves a copied link into your, whatever you call it. What do they call that? No, like, when you copy something, it goes on the clipboard.
Oh, yeah.
And so as soon as you hit save, it's automatically copied. And then you can just paste it into an email or paste it wherever you want. And it's like, once it uploads that video, kind of just goes through.
Technology,
I know. So yeah, I absolutely see where you're coming from, especially the bigger company with, multiple employees, more onboarding to be able to really streamline that.
Yeah.
Really important.
Yeah, exactly. Because even with the, I think a lot of companies are doing like workshops, and that's great. And I think there's definitely still, a need for that. But when you're, let's say in the onboarding process, if you're onboarding one person at a time, it doesn't make sense to host a workshop or have someone sit down with you for a day or two and go over every minute detail. Also, I find, for myself personally, like I have a horrible memory. So I need to write something down. And it's a lot easier for me if I'm watching a video that I could pause at any point in time and not sound like an idiot versus like in the middle of a conversation when somebody's trying to teach me something. And I'm like, hold on, you're talking too fast or whatever. So, and also for me, I'm a very visual learner. So not only, nice visuals on screen, but also text. So when somebody says something to me verbally, it literally goes in one ear and out the other. But when I see it in a video and I'm hearing it, but I'm also maybe seeing something referencing it, and then I'm also seeing the text on screen for the most important bits, it's much more likely to stay in my memory. Sure. Makes sense. Actually, that's a huge weakness of mine as well. And so this has been an interesting experiment, the podcast, of like, you got it. And so sometimes I've rewatched some of the videos. I'm like, you look angry. I'm like, no, I'm just concentrating really fucking hard so I don't forget anything. Yeah. So it's an interesting exercise. But yeah, the video with the text makes a ton of sense. For sure, yeah. And so what's your kind of, do you have a defined value proposition that you're kind of moving forward with about like, do you have like a tagline for it that you've been playing with? Have you settled on anything? Yeah, well, I guess it was kind of what I said at the beginning, the value proposition being we help companies, and if we want to get more specific, HR HR teams, learning and development teams, and communications teams deliver complex, important, and often boring information in a way that gets attention and compels action. So in everything that we do, we're always thinking about that. So, from the call to action that you use to, the sort of characters, quote unquote, in your story,
right.
To the way, to the style that you use, because it could be animation or it could be live action and, so many other things in between. It could be interactive. Something that we talk a lot about is story-based videos. So, I mentioned that all videos have a story to a degree, but a story-based video is actually a very specific thing. We actually took a course on it last year by this U.S. company that became really well known for story-based videos. NFL hired them to do a big Super Bowl ad, and so they just kind of blew up after that. But they have this whole methodology and process that we have learned and since implemented in several of our projects, and it's essentially you find the heart of the story, and the heart of the story is always usually one person. So you can have other sub characters, but there's one defining person. And what characterizes these videos different from other videos that we produce is there a lot more work in the pre-production process. So you really do a lot of research and take time to figure out who that heart is. And, the client may come to you and say, oh, we're going to, be profiling our executive. And like, that's who we think is going to deliver this message. But that might not be the right person. So you may need to ask them to, dive a little deeper and let you explore and interview different employees or clients or vendors, people that might not initially come to the surface.
Right.
And then discover who has an interesting, take on this ultimate goal that we're trying to get across. So, we have this main message that the brand wants to get across. And then, who is it that's going to be that sort of voyage through it.
Okay, got it. And so sometimes, it must be a customer rather than an employee or an executive or whatever.
And you're seeing a lot more of these now, I think, in corporate communications. And they're interesting too, because something else I've been talking a lot more about is this idea of external and internal content. So content that can be said to be an employee engagement video, because it's talking maybe about the values of your brand, and that's more focused on engaging your employees. But that same piece of content, when done well, can also be used externally, because customers also care about the values of your brand. So we're, I think, seeing less of what we would typically call a company profile video, where you go in and you interview a bunch of people and you ask the history of the company and what are they what do they do? And they list off these services and list off why they're great. And you hear more of them talking about the culture of their organization and how they treat their employees and why their employees love working there. And then that serves to show their customer base who they are as a brand. And I think more customers are buying into that versus just a list of services. Because, I mean, we can buy whatever we want from Amazon with the touch of a button, basically.
Yeah. And so from a strategic standpoint, are you, obviously building the strategy around the video and scripts, and that you've got a kind of a team that works with that, but do you guys delve into the practical application of videos, that like the internal marketing strategy of them? Because what I hear from a lot of people that are in video is like, we make this amazing video and they don't know what the fuck to do with it, and then it just goes to their YouTube page to die. So are you guys involved in that part of the process?
Yeah, I think we definitely try and focus on making sure in the pre-production process, so before we get to the end product and then they don't know what to do with it, that we really discuss with them, what is the goal and objective of this video? Where is it going? Who is the target market? And offer suggestions on the best way to approach that content. And like my, mention about the RFP process, sometimes clients will come to us and they think they need one thing, but our suggestion is something different.
Got it.
So I think it is important that we always, analyze things. And sometimes, clients just want to do things quickly and they're just like, just quote me on this. And so we need to try as much as possible to kind of bring them back and really understand what that thing is. And sometimes I say to clients, like, I think we need to speak to a marketing professional before we dive into this, because you haven't really clearly defined who the target audience is for this product or service or whatever it may be. And then also on the back end of things, we have a variety of partners that we work with. So, for example, I was just speaking to one of our partners today that's a UX designer, as well as another partner of ours that is a learning and development consultant. So a client of mine is actually a marketing professional, and he has a client who needs a series of animation videos. So we're talking to them about those animation videos. But then he also has this learning piece, and that often comes hand in hand. I've been finding a lot of clients have been coming to us because they need video, but then they're also like, oh, we also need this learning piece to be developed. And we don't, develop learning content, and we don't develop the technical side of things. So we don't do website design and LMS design and that sort of thing. So that's why we have partners, though, that we can pass our clients along to. So those two individuals that I mentioned, I connected with this client, and they're talking right now about sort of that, what their needs are. So it's all kind of connected, and I want to find more partners like that, because I know that we're really good at what we do, but there are so many pieces of the pie, to your point. And, video is one aspect of either a larger communication plan or a larger learning and development plan. And we want to make sure we have those partners in place.
Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Good. I like that. So let's talk about kind of where the business is going. New website, kind of new message, same product, but new message, which is cool. We talked a little bit offline just about, funny, we're kind of doing some of the same things. We have some of the same thoughts from the marketing standpoint. So talk to me about kind of what you guys are trying to do with your marketing now, internal marketing.
Sure, yeah. So since we started the business, really the main way I've been marketing is I just call it relationship building. It's getting back to the basics. And really that's what I've been focused on over the last 4 years, is just meeting as many people as possible, getting our message out there. And then I find once I get in front of somebody, then it's, a lot easier to, talk to them about what we do, get them to pay attention, and then hopefully once a need arises, they think of us. And that has been fairly successful for us. We've gotten a lot of referrals from friends and family, from clients, and from networking contacts. So we are at a stage, though, where I feel like we are ready to take off and really, looking to focus on this new area. So I need to start getting the message out there about, our new niche. And I've slowly been doing that through LinkedIn.
Got it.
So LinkedIn has been something that over the last...
That's how we connected, isn't it?
I believe so. I think actually
summer?
You reached out to me because I was at... I was talking at Social Media Week.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and then we sat down and had a conversation a few months later.
Got it.
But yeah, so LinkedIn, I feel like for the first couple of years, I just had and would post very infrequently. And then last year I started trying to post more regularly. And it's been, ups and downs.
Yeah. As it always is with internal marketing efforts. Right.
But it's interesting because even people who don't like my content or don't comment on my content will say to me, you post on LinkedIn all the time. And randomly, if I see them or end up talking to them, it's like, you're so active on LinkedIn. And I'm just like, you never interact with me, but I at least I know you see it.
Right. And honestly, so we see that with so many people that we do. So I get to see a lot behind the scenes of a lot of LinkedIn's business and personals, because we help people figure out, launch podcasts and different things like that. I get to see it from artists, from this, from that. It's amazing how little people actually directly engage, that are just watching from the sidelines, that will never say anything ever. It's so common.
Honestly, and you know what? I feel like I know because even myself personally, I feel like I do that too. I'm like a creeper, and then I don't want to like someone's stuff if I don't know them well enough. It's sort of like I feel like it's intrusive. But then I started thinking about it. This was actually a few years ago on my personal Instagram, and I was like, why am I not like nobody's gonna diss like you or think it's weird that you liked their stuff.
Right.
But you somehow feel weird about like, oh, I don't know them well enough to like their content or something. It's like, why am I following them then?
Right.
So I encourage everyone out there, go out and like a stranger's content.
It's a strange dynamic, but it's, people, and I think one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we get when we do engage or reach out about it is like, people are self-conscious. They feel like, oh, I don't want to be a weirdo, and like, and then the other thing, especially with commenting, is like, I don't want to write the wrong thing or make it seem, because when you correspond via text, everyone's had that, like, I said something via text and someone took it the wrong fucking way and they thought you were an asshole, and you're like, wait, what?
That's why I feel like I use like exclamation marks way too often, because I just want to like sound positive.
It drives people nuts, like, but I use voice now. I send voice memos everywhere to everybody.
Interesting.
So you can hear the inflection.
Yeah.
Even on.
Do you do that on LinkedIn? Because I've heard people do that.
No, but on Instagram. So I'll find like my next 3 guests are all just. Basically what I do for my podcast. I go on Instagram. I search for a couple of different hashtags or like a location. And I like find interesting people. So like this guy just founded it's a new restaurant, food mixed with influencers kind of thing. I'm interviewing him on Friday. I just came across it and I just went straight to direct message and I said, hey, it's Mike, I have a podcast, I want you to come on. So I voice DM pretty much exclusively.
And do you feel like that builds a better connection?
Huge.
Yeah.
Because with text, and as a business owner, so you get probably on the safe side 10, maybe 50 emails a month from like every which SEO provider, every fucking thing, right? Website. Phone calls, like it's all you're getting. We all deal with that influx. When you have a business email, you just deal with this influx of like all this bullshit. And I find because you're so inundated, even if someone DM me, I would quickly go past and read it, but it would be very easy for me to dismiss or forget.
But with with audio, I guess you have to listen to it versus just being able to like scrub your eyes over it.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah, I've been basically exclusively doing that, and I've actually been doing it on a personal level. So with text, I'll do it via voice, not like voice and it types it, just like straight voice. And then even for like birthdays, every person whose birthday it is, I literally record a video of saying like, hey,
really nice.
Happy birthday, and it blows people away and it makes them so fucking happy.
Okay,
so I'm just
stealing
like,
that.
Done. It's fine. Do it. Yeah, it's like and for me, it's like that thing you can post. And it's funny, I actually, for the last 3 or 4 years, unless it's like some random person from a networking group on the internet, I'll like, hey, happy birthday on their Facebook wall. Okay. But like if I have any type of personal connection with you and I know it's your birthday, I'll never post on a Facebook wall. It's always text, and it's always video through text. Like, happy birthday, I'm sitting here doing whatever.
That's
have a good
so
one.
Nice.
It's great. It's like, it's actually bringing back some relationships that kind of like, relationships fall away, but you get people like, oh shit, like I fucking forgot you existed. Like, I know, me too. It's an interesting way to reconnect. It's interesting
because I think the world that we live in right now with technology, and I feel like a lot of people feel like it's ruining us and it's, pulling us apart. But I did some research on Gen Z, the generation below millennials, and they are actually more interested in face-to-face communication. Yeah. Which I find weird.
FaceTime's a huge thing for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and to me it's still kind of shocking because like you also read reports that they're, not going out as much and they're just hanging out in their rooms like beside each other texting. Right. But I don't know. Well, I guess to be seen. But I guess it's cool that there's like you're able to use technology in a way that's bringing you more face to face. Yeah. When you wouldn't be able to maybe do that to all of these people on their birthdays and see them in person, but you kind of.
Yeah. The other thing is I'm horrible at typing. Like writing words is my like kryptonite.
Oh,
I'm the worst at it. So as much as I can avoid it, which is why I don't have a blog, I do this 100%. I'm awful at writing. So that's kind of my secret. But yeah, the Facebook, even on like in the Facebook Messenger, like happy birthday videos, crusher.
I'm definitely going to start doing that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
So somebody had mentioned this to me before, and I wonder what your thoughts are on it then in more of a business context. Like, do you think I should start, especially being a video production company, I actually have this idea. There's this application we use, a file sharing program called Wistia, if you've heard of
I know
it.
it. Yep.
And they have this thing called Soapbox, and you essentially it's like a download that gets added onto your browser, and you just press a button. Your computer camera records you, and it records your screen and you at the same time, and then you can quickly cut between the two and trim it, and then add a title and change the color of the box that it gets sent in, and then you can send it out as an email to somebody.
Yep.
And similarly, like your idea, I'm sure you could just do a little video recording on your phone and then send it via LinkedIn. So do you feel like that is worth it and appropriate as a way to introduce yourself to a stranger, whether that's an end client or perhaps a referral partner?
Yes. I do. For me, so there's a big difference in what that communication looks like, though. I've been given, and there was like a rise of it. I think it was like 3 years ago it really started, where I was getting emails. So I worked with a client of mine who had 9 different brands.
Okay.
And they were the Canadian distributor, but they were global brands. So there was like the amount of inquiries we got was absurd. Oh, I can help your this and your that. And so what we were getting is people would record and like do an audit of something, walking through, and then
interesting.
And I was like, that's cool, but I didn't fucking ask you to audit. I wasn't asking for opinion. I don't know who the fuck you are.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, but I also found it to be a little bit invasive of like, but you don't even know the context where I'm doing this.
Oh, okay.
That might have been part of my strategy, so why the fuck are you judging that?
It was almost like rude.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But I do think for even just like to put a face to a
But like just a hello.
person, I would do it. I've been doing it, particularly on Instagram. Yeah, when I'm like DMing people about different things. Even sometimes I do it now with the podcast, we're 20 something episodes in, so I've talked to a whole bunch of people from a whole bunch of different industries. So even now I'm in communication regularly with some of them become friends, and I'll find someone on Instagram where I'm like, oh shit, like that's the perfect potential customer for this person, or these two are in the same space or could really help each other out. So I'm even doing multiple people being, hey, I know you don't know who it is, but this guy's Mike, a buddy of mine, you should fucking connect about this thing.
Oh, cool.
And I'm experimenting as much as possible right now.
Yeah.
And the response rate is awesome. Even just with voice, it's fantastic.
And I guess the moral of the story, which I'm always a bit, I don't know why, I just get hesitant with things, and I'm like, is this awkward, or how are they going to respond? But what I have to, I think, remind myself is that, look, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
This person is somebody
Always.
you don't know that you're reaching out to. So if they don't respond to you, or if they say not interested, well, you didn't lose anything at the end of the day.
Yep. 100%. And people aren't going to remember or get offended, or it's gonna, like, there's nothing that's really going to happen. They're just going to be like, oh, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Move on. Like, I don't
But
care.
hopefully a few people do.
Right. And people will. The thing, actually, the first time I ever did the Instagram one, I can't remember who the first person I ever invited. But anyway, I didn't realize that when there's no way to stop
The recording?
the Instagram one. Like, you just hold the thing down.
Oh.
And then when you're done, you let go and it's sent. There's no review process.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, shit. And then I let it go, and then it automatically sent. I was like, fuck.
That's
no. I was
aggressive.
like, hey, so
Continuing
it took me
that
like
thought.
4 messages of like, oh yeah, and I'm also contacting you about this, and sorry about all these messages. It was really awkward, the first one, but it's kind of cool because like you just have to like, okay, focus up, say some words, and I think there's a charm about. Oh, I mean, what I meant was like, you know what I mean, when you kind of stammer, people are like, oh, the person's awkward like me. That's okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of sometimes you don't have a choice on Instagram but to leave it in. But I find even with the podcast, like I'll listen to things. I'm like, why would you say that? That sounded so dumb. I just leave it in now because it's like I like the idea of people understand. Like we all make mistakes. We all have opinions that are wrong. There's all kinds of things like that. And for me, it just like I just let it go out there because then it brings a personality or a vulnerability without forcing it to be like, see, I'm vulnerable too.
Yeah.
It's like I don't care. When I say words, sometimes they don't come out great.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to me or not, right?
No, totally.
So yeah, I would play with that. But yeah, LinkedIn. So I'm doing a big thing on LinkedIn. I think it's similar to what you're trying to do. So why don't you tell me about what you'd like to accomplish on LinkedIn? I want to make sure we're on the right page.
Sure. So Yeah, I think I just want to start expanding my network. And I think the main thing was I feel like I've been maybe a bit stuck in this this bubble of the way that we have been marketing ourselves. And, beyond personal one-on-one connections, we've also been dabbling in SEO, and that's gotten, some results, limited results.
Yeah.
But,
SEO is a big undertaking for video production.
For sure. It's a lot of competition, but we are going after slightly different keywords now. So I think that will be good. Actually, the first day our new site went live, we got a form contact filled out. So
amazing.
Who knows if it's, changing things up. But yeah, on the LinkedIn side, I think it's just I want to start reaching out to people that I don't really have a warm connection. Like somebody's introduced me. I want to go after that all of those other people that I don't know and don't have a connection to. And I think one of the big things for us is to find referral partners. So PR companies, communications organizations, and a lot of learning development companies are also great for us. I feel like, once you land one of those and get a really good relationship with one of those, there's a lot of, potential of kind of connecting with all of their customers.
Yep.
So we have a few that, we've met over the years, and a lot of them have been, again, through like personal connections, but we really want to build that up. So I just feel like LinkedIn could be a great resource to reach out to people. And I think I've been hung up on what's the right thing to say, and we need to get a document to
sorry, the table doesn't have proper legs yet.
But yeah, like maybe we need something to send them. That was something I've been hung up on recently, and now I'm just thinking like maybe I don't need to send them something. And we were working on this idea of like a resources page on our website, which has like articles and white papers about interactive video and story-based video, and tips and tricks, and just different documents that would be useful, pricing guides and styles of videos to give you a sense of what to pitch and things like that. And I'm still on that tip a little bit. Like I still think that's a maybe good resource to eventually send out to people. I don't know. To your point, maybe it is just simple enough of sending an audio recording or sending a little video being like, hey, this is what I do. Would love to get to know you and see if there's any synergies.
Yeah. So there's a couple of techniques. So I've done a lot of cold emailing for clients in the past.
Okay.
I don't know what the number is, but my guess would be kind of in the 100,000 range. And those are all personal or more like mass? Personal.
Well,
they're mass that look personal.
Yeah, so they're templated or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I use some tools and some systems to make it really effective.
Okay.
So I'm emailing right now. We're offering a training, right? Social media training for a mid-sized company who either maybe has some people in-house, but they'd like some clarity from someone who's got a lot of experience, or maybe it's a smaller, the receptionist or a couple people pooled together to do the social, but they know they got to take it more seriously, but they don't have the direction.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of that, as you can probably see in social.
For sure.
So for us, it's like, hey, let us come in for a day, bring all your team who's going to do it. We'll find out everything we need to know about you, develop a plan, and then give you a guideline of like, here's the book on how to do it going forward.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's like, here's the company profile that we feel would match. So I emailed 1,500 people in the last week and a half.
Okay. So, but you use some sort of a tool
to automate it.
Okay.
But it basically says like, hey, person's first name. We were checking out company's Instagram profile, and so we have all the data points that we fill in using on automation, right?
She's so cute. Sorry, there's a cat here.
Yeah, her name is Taco. She's adorable.
She's so soft.
Stop.
Sorry, I got so distracted.
It's okay. It happens a lot. She usually jumps on the table. And so out of that, we had I think 26% open rate.
Oh, nice.
And then I think it's funny, actually, the messaging on this one was sweet. It was like, even the people that said no were writing like long, heartfelt, like, hey, it actually is not a great time for us right now, but like, thank you so much for da-da-da-da.
So
I'm like,
keeping them on the back burner.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Usually it's like, fuck off, don't email me, leave me alone. So it's that this batch has been interesting, but and so I'm doing the email thing of like, hey, here's a cold introduction to whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, we do this. We're looking for partners in this field. We'd love to connect.
Yeah.
And then for actual potential clients, hey, we do this thing. Would love to chat with you. Da 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 da. So that is only being done by email, not on LinkedIn at all.
Okay.
The reason I don't like using LinkedIn for it, and the way most people do it poorly. So I would say that I don't know what percent, but there's a certain percent of my connection requests where they come in. And the first thing that happens is an automated, Okay. And the first thing that happens is I get an automated message being like, I
hate that.
It makes me want to punch you in the fucking head.
Yes.
So hard.
I hate that.
So I don't, like, to me, it's like the idea of doing that is so far removed.
This is why I've been stuck in this place of not wanting to do anything.
Yes. So I have a solution.
Okay.
So LinkedIn content and engagement.
Oh my God, you're so little.
Come on. LinkedIn engagement organically is very high, and that's if you're posting stuff, so your tips and tricks, or you're putting out articles, or you're putting out posts, or even just you commenting and interacting with stuff.
Yep.
Liking and commenting on stuff in either groups or whatever it is, like that bounces around so much.
Yeah.
Even just something stupid, simple as like using hashtags. So I did a bunch of posts with no hashtags, and I did one the other day of like about the podcast studio, and I usually get like my network on there's not big. I'm actually in this same process where like now I'm ready to grow, so I'm doing what you're trying to do, and so I have like maybe 600 connections.
Okay.
And I had 1,000. I'm at like 1,070 post views for that one post now.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, where did these people come from?
Oh yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
But
because it's also people who like your stuff, their network sees it, right? Yeah. Okay.
So there's part of that, but it's like my best performing, and I've written some like. It's funny. I feel like I've wasted some of my articles because some of them are like wicked. Like really
repost,
really helpful, really practical, super hands-on. I'm like, I wish I had a bigger pool of people that could have seen it. I will repost it, but I say that kind of jokingly, and I'll reuse that content. So what I've decided is like, okay, you know what? Because having those people connected with you, if they're the right people, can have a direct impact on them seeing it, or it gives you the opportunity to communicate with them. What I want to do is I want to connect, but I'm not going to send them shit because I don't like when people send me stuff on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It just makes me angry. And everybody I've talked to universally is like, every time I get a DM about a proposition, about whatever, I won't take the meeting. I find my inbox, because that's my inbox is where I'm expecting it. LinkedIn is not where I want it.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
So I wouldn't send anything. What I would say is finding a tool, like we're using a tool right now, to connect en masse with the exact people you want to connect with.
Via email?
Nope.
Oh.
Connecting with them on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So automating that and connecting with them, but not DMing them.
Oh, like a tool to add people en masse. Okay, but I have gotten blocked. By one day, I like found a bunch of people in comms, and I just kind of went through and added. It wasn't like hundreds. It was like 30 people, and it was like, you are locked out for 1 month. Yeah.
That's fairly uncommon. I'm inviting 100 a day right now.
Really?
So there's a difference on how to do it.
Okay.
This particular software that I use, it does so it's AI. It's really smart. So what it does is it opens the profile.
Yeah.
It scrolls up and down the profile.
Okay, so it looks like you were on it.
It clicks on links in the profile. So it like clicks around for like 30 seconds. As it like slowly, as if you're whatever. And then the message that you're saying like, hey, I'd love to connect on LinkedIn, it fucking types it. So you can see the letters popping up. So it doesn't it's not.
But it's all automated.
It's all automated.
Is it an expensive tool?
No, it's like $15 a month.
Oh, okay.
It's very cost effective. Now you do need something else in tandem with it to make it work really, really well.
Okay.
But that's what I'm doing. So all I'm saying is, it's my current script is, hey, first name. Because it's detecting their first names.
Yeah.
But it's looking personal. Hey, Larry, because that's their first name on the profile. Looking, came across your profile. Looks like you're into some interesting things. Looking for some like-minded people to connect with on LinkedIn. Would love to connect. Something like that. Okay. That's approximately. I didn't write it because I don't know how to write. But that's about what it says. And so right now I'm getting about a 25% conversion. So even like just in the very short period, I've gone from it was like 660 connections to like 740 in like 2 days or 3 days or something like that. Like a really short period. Yeah. So it's like, it's quick. And when you plug in all the people you want to connect with ahead of time, so it just like every day, it just goes, okay, now this 100 and now this 100.
So where do you find the list of people you want to connect with?
Sales Navigator. That's the expensive part. Okay, yeah. So I don't know if you've used it.
I haven't, no.
Okay. So it's a wicked product. Yeah. There's actually another thing I do with it, which is why I'm happy to pay the $90. I hope no one from LinkedIn hears this. They'll never find me. It's fine. So what Sales Navigator does is you can pick sales prospects. So have you ever run an ad on LinkedIn?
Yeah, a while ago because there was like free credits or something.
But you could see all the options. Yep. Seniority, job title, geo, company size, all those categories. There's like 10 different categories. And they're, like job title is a big one. Then job title in an industry with employee count from 10 to 200 with those three. Like, so it's pretty, you can really hand select, right? HR manager, this, that. Yeah. That compiles the list for you. Okay. Then LinkedIn Helper says, hey, okay, so it's this 5,000 people you want to invite who are all the HR managers across North America who are in this industry, whatever that thing is. Then it pulls that into LinkedIn Helper and then 100 a day it invites. Okay. So that's really impactful. And you can customize it if you're saying, hey, I want to connect with like potential partners. Hey, I see you're the director of marketing at whatever company. We're looking to would love to connect. So that's how I would do the LinkedIn growth. Okay. Because what happens then is you start to see their content. As you post stuff, your stuff starts to show up on their feed because you're connected now. Yeah. And those are decision makers.
But do you think there ever should come a time that you then reach out to them and say, hey, we've been connected for a couple of months.
That's acceptable.
I've been seeing your content or...
Yeah. I would rather grab their email and email them.
But that's also like it's harder to find emails than just names.
Yeah, there's a tool for that too.
Okay.
It's expensive as fuck, but it's amazing. So in tandem with this growth thing, I'm also using another tool that pulls the contact information off the profile. So it gives you a spreadsheet.
Okay. Because once you get connected with someone, typically their contact information is there. Yeah. But when you're not connected with them, it's hidden, right?
So the tool allows it to grab that.
Even when you're not connected. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm dragging emails from that and then connecting with different people. It's not quite the same.
Yeah.
Right?
So would you though? So this is actually a strategy I've used. Is I'll connect with somebody on LinkedIn, and then also send them an email and just say, hey, I just connected with you on LinkedIn. Love to, learn more about you, blah, blah, blah. I'd also love to book a meeting, going into
that's a way more, you're going to get the response rate you'll get on that versus a DM in LinkedIn, even though it's a little bit more work, is going to be way higher every time. If the messaging is right, I guarantee it. I've sent a lot of messages in general.
But then there's the point that people get so many emails, and so LinkedIn is a different channel that they don't get as many messages in, so they're more likely to look and respond to the message on LinkedIn. But you believe that when it comes to like requesting a meeting, it's better to do it via email.
Agree with your statement. Yeah. You're 100% correct. Okay. But most people just suck shit at sending emails. Like, write something that's going to make me open it, and then I'll open it. But I'm from like a lot of conversations that I've had, people are more likely to respond to a request for a meeting from that than a DM in LinkedIn for whatever reason. That might just be the particular people that I've tried DMing, because I've tried both.
Well, it's also like even just because somebody has a LinkedIn profile doesn't mean they're active. Like, Absolutely. I've had people who contact me weeks or months after I connected with them. just sent the request and say, hey, sorry, I'm just never on here, but sure, I'd love to talk to you or whatever.
Yeah. So, but I would say just from experience, the higher conversion rate will be, because even if you get them to respond, for some reason, the meeting conversion is better via email.
Okay.
And so there's a bunch of great resources about email, about like subject lines and this and this and that. There's a guy called Alex Berman.
I'll write that down.
Yeah, go just spend an hour and a half on his YouTube channel.
And what was it? You said LinkedIn
Helper.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alex is a fucking genius. He's
for,
such a smart guy. So it's like scripts for first contact, for second, like, and he sent his agency. They help agencies. So it's like you would hire them, and you would pay them a lot of money because they're very good at what they do, and they would say, hey, here's everybody in your space that we're going to get you X amount of meetings. And so they go from email sequencing to calling to their systems are impeccable. They're very talented. They're I think they're priced for what they're worth. For my size and the scale that I need leads at, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Sorry. Can you push her off? Go on.
Taco.
And so, but yeah, he's that kind of guy where he puts out all his content like, hey, this is exactly what I'm doing, go.
Yeah.
And so some of his stuff from like a couple of years ago is like the best. He's kind of gone weird. I love him. He's a good friend, but he's kind of gone into like acting and comedy. So he does like stand up now. So his channel is kind of taken a different turn, but he still is a big part of this agency.
Cool.
I would check him out because we use exactly like our templates strategies are his shit. Oh, yeah, wow. We just were like, oh, okay, cool. And then we sometimes will get different variations for subject lines from, there's an article, I can send it to you. It came from AppSumo, I think.
Okay.
They're like an e-commerce tools for like e-commerce stores, and they also have like software deals for entrepreneurs. That's like their other product. And they have one, so we've been just testing shit off of theirs. Because they send so many more than us, like millions. Like their email list is like 1.5 million people. So they're just like, this is what happens. This is what people open, and this is what they don't. Like I have some sense, but I just refer to the people that have sent 10, 20, 30 times the amount that I have. I don't try and get too crafty on that stuff.
I'm actually curious what you think that, and maybe from your experience in seeing a little bit of what he has said has worked and what hasn't. I got emails and I DM'd on LinkedIn, and I was talking to my business partner about it and kind of showing her and laughing about it. But a woman sent me a request, and it was like, she was copywriter, blah blah blah. I sometimes I like to tell jokes, but usually I don't because I'm terrible at it. And it was like a paper joke, and then I didn't respond, but I did add her, and then she sent me like 2 days later another thing, and it was kind of in the same vein of like, she so happened to have colored hair, and it was like blue, and she said something about don't want to make you blue, or like I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of funny, but then I'm also like I think it maybe works for her because she's a copywriter and using kind of like writing jokes. I don't know. But yeah, curious what your take is on something like that. Or in the past, we had thought about doing email blasts and using video. Obviously, we're a video production company, so we were gonna do this like marketing video, and it was supposed to be like jokes that marketing professionals would get.
Don't do it.
And we created the video and then just never put it out because we were like, this doesn't work, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
I think here's the thing, right? Like you have to understand your customer, which 4 years into the game, you know who's the decision maker. You know what makes them tick. You know what makes them say yes and say no, and just like stay within that lane. Yeah. You can try a little bit, but I just know like I get pitched, and I'm sure you get pitched on shit all the time, and you know the stuff that immediately is like no. But I think if you reflect, and if you need that service or that whatever it is they offer, you're like, if they had told me this story to get me to it, it's the storytelling piece, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, we're this company, we do X, Y, and Z. Nobody gives a shit what you do.
Yeah.
Hey, do your corporate communications suck? And like, are you losing millennials because your videos are lame? Cool, we can help you solve your problem. Is a way more effective way. But even in the context of like messaging, your first message should be like really, really, really short, and then there's tiers. So there's like the I'm gonna mass send this many people, and then there's the like I'm gonna spend the time to customize it that little bit more, which takes work. And you can outsource that like on Upwork. So one recommendation, again, this is his playbook, not mine, but it's very effective, is like, it's like, hey, first name, came across company on whatever. So it's like LinkedIn or Clutch or whoever your target is, right? Clutch would be a good one for different agencies you're trying to get in touch with. Was really impressed by enter something that you saw on their website or something on wherever, because then they're like, holy shit. But then the time it takes to do that is very high. So then you got to determine if that's worth it. Or you can take that line out. They don't feel as personal, and your response rate's going to go down, but you're like, for the amount of time it takes, it's still worth it. So you do have to experiment. There's not really a one rule fits all, but I would say keeping the content simple, solve their problems, reverse engineer what they actually want or what would make them say yes. And I think the best way to find that out is go to your existing customers. Like what was the thing that made you said yes, or like what's the number one, what do we help you with the most, like what's your feedback about how we make your life easier, or are you more profitable, or whatever the thing is. And they're like, oh well, our retention's higher, we know that hiring new people is very expensive. Cool. If that's like 3 out of the 10 responses, try that message. And you can email the same people that you've emailed before with like different subject lines. But like, give it some time.
That was actually another question I just thought of is, well, not even like, making it feel like a completely different email, but from my understanding in sales, it takes like 6 to 8 touch points to land a sale or whatever. So, that's why LinkedIn is great, because if you've connected with them, hopefully they see you a couple of times and think of you and whatever. But like, let's say it is just a cold email. Are you supposed to follow up a week later, 2 days later, or like, have you kind of dabbled in the follow-up strategy?
So I go day one message, and it's only Tuesday to Thursday between 10 and 2 are the only times that emails go out.
Interesting.
Never Monday, never Friday.
Interesting.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when people are ready to do business. As you probably, makes sense, but it's helpful. So you schedule, I use the scheduling thing, so it only sends during that. So message goes out 3 days later, the finish of that week, so like a full week removed, and then another 10 days after that. Or 2 weeks after that.
So message, then 3 days later, a follow-up like, hey, you might have missed my email.
It's basically the exact same email.
Oh, really?
But they just see a string, so they think, oh, it's a reply. Oh, maybe I forgot something. Oh, and then people don't really notice that it's the same message. They're not going to go back through both usually. But it kind of depends on the strategy as well. So I'm actually just doing an email with only 2 in the sequence, because I was just testing for something else. I'm testing for subject lines, so I don't want to inundate. So mine is like take control of your social media with a little phone. And the open rate's ridiculous on it, which it was a thesis and it actually worked, but I was kind of surprised that it did work the way it did. But it's like whatever the message is, and then the next one is, hey, just doing a quick follow-up. It's almost the exact same message.
But it's in the same email stream.
Yeah. And then a week later, it gets a little bit less, more like simplified, like, hey, like it's not like, hey, I don't want to bug you too much, but just it's a little bit shorter, a little bit cleaner. And then my last one is, hey, I don't want you to think I'm like trying to stalk you or anything, not in that way, but I'm gonna assume if you haven't got this or you haven't responded, that it's not something that's interesting to you. So
4 is sort of your magic number.
I'd say so. Yeah.
And then do you have because I assume you said this is all automated, right? So do you have something in place that if they respond to email number 1, they don't get the other streams?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be super awkward.
Yeah. So if it's a bounce or you get a response, even if you get an out of office responder, which that one sucks because that takes them out of the funnel. But it can't. The system can only figure out so much shit. So that's how it works.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they've responded or whatever, then they come out of the list. But you can also do it depending on how complicated you want it, you can also, like, if you have a link in the email, if they click that link, you can send another, hey, thought you were interested in that.
Okay, so what email service do you use?
The one I use is called Mailshake.
Okay.
Our team calls it ice cream sandwich. I don't know where that came from, but I met the founder.
Like
I met the founder in Austin, Texas, at one of AppSumo's events, their conference. Super fucking nice guy. They're always improving the product. They integrate well with Gmail and all that stuff, and they have a lot of great resources. Like, they have an online course about emailing, and as you're writing it, it's giving you like prompts like, this is a bit too long, or this is too many links, or that word's kind of spammy. So it kind of helps guide the path, and I think it does a great job.
Yeah.
So it's a really good software. We've been using it for as long as we've been emailing, I'd say.
I'm sure you've heard of and have used MailChimp. What do you think of that?
MailChimp is okay. MailChimp is better for, like, I've subscribed to something and I'm sending you my weekly or my monthly newsletter. The automation sequencing I find to be a little bit clunky and a little bit overpriced.
So
with MailChimp.
With Mailshake, can you also do a newsletter?
No, I only use it for cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different
Completely different. And honestly, like, the core functionality of it is so specific as you get in and understand the follow-up in that. Whereas MailChimp, you kind of do it. Like, if you wanted an email campaign builder that also did cold, you could use like an active campaign because it's a little bit more intricate. I find MailChimp is like I don't have any technical background and I don't know how to like build a sequence. So like use MailChimp. Yeah. And that might be where you're at, but I would consult, like, have somebody come in and kind of help get it set up if you don't. But I would use Mailshake for cold just because of, again, like, it's very good at picking stuff up, and I like that it keeps track of replies. So in your replies tab, some people are like, fuck you, don't email me again. Some people will, like, you can see your whole conversation string with that person to, like, check in on it. I just find that it's built specifically for it, and it does a great job with it. Okay. But there's a whole bunch of different options for it. Yeah. But MailChimp I wouldn't use for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good to know. Yeah, so far it's just been like personal.
Yeah.
Everything for me has been little automation.
Yes. And that's fine. It just depends on how many people you need to hit.
Yeah.
Right? And I think especially when you're talking about, like, you've got a company profile that you're going after. It's like a company that's in one of these industries that's about this size, and I need to talk to this person in it. So when you're talking about trying to email those people to try and get a meeting, I'd be inclined to use automation just because of just time. The time that it takes. And I like, if you use these tools that's pulling the data out in the right way, so you can, like city, company name, first name, like there's so much data that you can get out of these programs that, like, when it goes out to that person, like, I don't have anybody who's like, oh, look, this looks automated, or it looks like bullshit. Like, it's done in such a way where, like, you wouldn't be able to tell. There might be the odd one that goes out kind of weird, but, like, generally speaking, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, I always thought that, like, also automated emails are able to be tracked a lot easier by spam filters. Is that true or no?
It is. So who do you use for email? Do you use G Suite? Like the Google
Gmail,
email?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So when you go into your admin portal there, there's some things that you can add in the DNS records. Oh. So you wherever you bought the domain, and then in G Suite, so there's filters that you can add that prevent you from coming into spam. Oh. That will, like, dramatically decrease what goes to spam. So you can do some things like that. I don't know all the ins and outs. One of my employees is doing that for us now. The other thing you could do is get another domain that's similar, and then if it gets fucked over, it gets fucked over. It's not a big deal. Oh. So I've got like 6 domains that are all in and around Social Media House, like smhtoronto.ca and all that. So they all point to the domain. Yeah. But if one of them goes down, it's not the end of the world.
I didn't even know that was like an issue, that one of them would go down.
Well, if you send it and it, like, got blacklisted because you were spamming the shit out of people, it's a thing that could happen. Oh, okay. I've never seen it happen. Okay. I've never had it happen to me, so I don't.
It's just more cautionary.
I think it's like everything, right? Like, there's a bunch of people that send really spammy, shitty emails with bullshit links. And then Google's like, you look like a robot trying to fucking screw someone over. You're gone. So if you're doing it very lazily, there's always a way to get blocked. But I've never experienced it. But there are those records, the DNS stuff, and then in G Suite there is a record that I recommend putting in, because I don't know what it does, but it apparently takes you being like, hey, this is not spam, even though whatever. I don't know how it works. I just know that it's a thing. Well,
this is a Tatiana business partner thing. It's a little technical.
There you go. She can Google it. It'll be fine.
She'll figure it out, I'm sure.
But I mean, that's how I would connect from a personal standpoint on LinkedIn, is like build the library of people without an ask, and then put out content or engage with their stuff, and then send them a message. It's just just too many people just are lazy, and you get them, and you just, as soon as you connect, you see it, and you're like, I hate you so much.
And I love the ones that are like crazy long and like, check out my book. And
no, my favorite are the really assumptive ones. Hey, like, we do this and this, so let me know when you want to book a call. I'm like, fuck you. Like, they have like a calendar link. I'm like, there's no way I'm connecting with that. So don't, you know what I mean, just don't do the thing that drives you nuts. But so that's my strategy with LinkedIn. It's connecting en masse, and then putting out some of the stuff you're talking about, which I think was smart content for the blog. I don't think you should put out a huge volume. I think hand select a couple pieces that are really impactful, and then just kind of build off of that.
So that's another question about how often to post. And you know, I've heard like having a mix of content, like you have like some bloggy, you know, informational based content. Then you have stuff that's like promotional, like for me, like sharing a video, talking about a project we worked on, and then more like fun stuff, like we do like behind the scenes photos, and then I also feel like there's like another sliver where I have gotten the best response from, which is overtly personal. So like I just turned 30 a month or so ago, or actually a couple weeks ago, and I posted about turning 30, and I got like 150 likes and 90 comments, and just like outperformed anything else I've ever posted on LinkedIn. And I feel like it was just because it was personal, and it's also something for someone to just be like, happy birthday.
I think so. I think what I would advise is, don't fall into the pitfalls of what everybody's doing. So you've probably seen it now, where people are writing the exact amount, but where it cuts off, where it truncates, where you have to click see more, is like a perfect arc for where it stops. You're like, oh wait, what? Oh no. And so it's like very tricky. And a lot of people are doing so. Like, you'd never believe that this happened, and
but then there's nothing good below it, really. Like,
and well, there's also that people just put out a lot of shit. Right. So here's what I would say. Personal stuff is okay. I wouldn't do too much. Just because it's like, it's not
LinkedIn.
Facebook. Right. But I would share. So here's the networky thing. I would find people that you want to work with, businesses that you want to work with, providers that you want to work with, and follow their pages. And then when they post something cool, share it and write a little blurb and tag them with a couple of hashtags. That's the most impactful content. That's
a good idea. Actually, haven't really done much of that.
And so you can use LinkedIn, or you can use softwares like Awario, stuff like that, where it searches everything for keywords. It's like, hey, I want to know an article or something that includes keyword A, B, and C that's like coming from Canada, whatever. And so it'll pull, or even another one called Content Studio, which is actually, Content Studio is probably better for this. So you can find stuff and how much it's been engaged and shared, and then decide to share it. It curates that shit for you.
Like from only LinkedIn, or from whatever?
From also all the sources. But you can specify where I want it from. And so we use that to find articles to share on like Facebook and stuff like that. But yeah, so you write a little blurb, but you're sharing someone else's that has a link that did you see what @whatever did? Like, this is so cool. 2 or 3 hashtags. That's going to get you the most play. So I would share that. So it doesn't have to be always yours. What I would say is the unique stuff that you put out, where it's like, so I put out a lot of stuff about the podcast, and this gives me a platform to put out a lot of content, which is great. but don't put out stuff for the sake of putting stuff out. There's a lot of companies that like their marketing blogs are just like, holy crap, you just regurgitated those 8 sentences from this other thing. Useless. Like if you're not going to say something meaningful and it's you, don't just reword something and put it out. It has no value. It's not going to get people engaged or really excited about it. Like either it's you're giving your opinion or here's my view or here's my whatever on it, my 2 cents on it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Or sharing it with some information. That's good. But just taking stuff and just putting it back up there, like it will show activity, but it won't get much engagement.
Yeah.
So I would say like make the cool resources that you guys are thinking about. Like I had an idea that I gave it to somebody else. I don't know if they ever did anything with it, but like it was like how to be on camera.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like a 5-7 minute, really cool thing. And I've seen other companies do it and it does really well. There's like
do a video of that or a blog?
No, like a video, or it could be a blog. Or I like LinkedIn articles.
Yeah.
That's really good. So I would do it in there with like some little videos amongst it. Because then if it's like really, holy shit, like this is a really practical, helpful thing, then it'll get shared. Yeah. So if you're going to put stuff out, make sure it's like really high quality, really practical, and then just cater it to what would get you a yes from a decision maker. Yeah. But it's content marketing. So you're not asking for anything in it, but like how to be in a corporate video, things to remember when you're on camera, how to dress for when you're going to be on camera, those things which are really practical, and they're like, oh, and especially if you're connecting with the right people, right? Then they're seeing, oh, good, this thing made me nervous. Now you're a trusted person who showed them how to be on camera or whatever that thing is. Yeah. But it ties into if they were to hire you, it would already kind of help, right? That's good content marketing. Yeah. So I would reverse engineer what your customers worry about, what they have, your most frequently asked questions, answer those in an interesting way and put that out. Yeah. That's what I would put out from the unique side, from the unique content side.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I think I need to do more of.
It takes a lot. Content marketing is a beast.
I know.
It's really hard. But I mean, I think the way that I map it is, and I actually think we did I don't know if I think it was an infographic. It's on our website. Okay. So it's how to come up with like 100 ideas like really quickly. So it was like make a list of 10 of your most frequently asked questions, like that you get asked in person or on your website, or this or this or that, and then you take those. So there's like 4 categories. You come up with a list of 10 for each, and then each one of those you find 2 ways of telling it, and then 2 mediums, and you're like, there's like 100 ideas right there.
Yeah, it's true.
And then from the execution side, it's just work. There's no way. It's tough. It's a lot of work.
And I don't think actually we ever got to the answer of how many times to post a week.
If you have enough interesting shit to say, I would post every day. Oh, okay. I just don't have that much content.
Yeah, right.
So that's tough. Yeah. The amount of content that you need. But
So you think there's nothing wrong with posting every day though? It's not like overwhelming or like annoying.
You'll annoy some people.
Yeah.
But as long as the content that you're putting out is either informational or it's entertainment or it's like giving your brand or yourself a personality that people can connect with, the people that want to be connected with you will find you. And we find that a lot of times, like even with artists, right? We deal with a couple like pretty big name hip hop artists, and they worry, oh, what should I post? And I'm like, we've seen flux of like at 75,000 followers on Instagram, and then really got honest and streamlined about this is who I am. And this is what I'm going to talk about. And it was like 30% loss of followers, and then went to 250,000 like in a year. So it's like, don't be afraid to lose a bunch of connections or lose a bunch of things in finding the right voice. Because if it's the right stuff, the people will find it. And if you're active enough, and if you're inviting people, if you're doing all those actions, that will net itself out. So I don't worry about, you'll get some people, oh, like, why do you just post like all these things now? Or like, oh, why are you posting all this crap about this? I don't want to, then fucking unfollow me. Yeah. Go away. Like, you're not the right person. The people that would get value out of either learning something about you or learning something practical about what they need to know to help them do their job, whatever that thing is, if that came to me several times a week, I'd be thrilled. Yeah. It's just like finding the right audience for it. And it's not always who you think, but don't cater the content to what you cater it to what actually makes sense for driving sales and leads, and let everybody else go by the wayside. They're not important.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm not sure if you know, but how much of your content is an average viewer seeing? Because that's another question. So even if you are posting every day, like if somebody's obviously not going on LinkedIn, but okay, this is the other thing I find with LinkedIn, unlike Facebook and very much unlike Instagram, people can find my stuff like a week later.
Yes.
Because people are liking it, so clearly they're finding it still like in their feed somewhere.
Yep, and that's why LinkedIn's so powerful right now, is because that reach is so strong. It's so heavy,
and it's just, I guess,
because there's not a lot of content. It used to be that's what Facebook used to be. 7 years ago, you do a good post and you'd see it for 3 weeks.
Okay.
But then they're like, screw you guys, you come buy our ads if you want exposure.
Yeah.
And now Instagram's moving to that quicker than I thought they were going to.
Well, they're going to make it uncool, but
no, and that'll be their detriment, but they're going to make you pay for the exposure, right? So we even like blog articles or some posts that we do on LinkedIn, like we do of the podcast, we'll cut little 1 minute videos where it's like the wave bubbles and then the picture of us talking or whatever. And so I'll run that as an ad just to drive interest in and whatever. Okay. Because I know that when we post it, out of our however many followers, like 5%, 10% will see it. And
on LinkedIn?
No, on Instagram.
Oh, sorry, on Instagram.
No, LinkedIn's still really, really good.
So like the majority of people that follow you will see it eventually.
Yeah, and then if you do get good engagement on it, it's great. And who knows, in a couple of years, they might go by the, hey, you want attention, buy the ads. Who knows? Yeah. But right now, that's like the sweet spot. If you've got the right content for it. Yeah, and we're, as we're kind of adding to the team, people that can help cut this into 40 things instead of 10, because we don't have that much time. We're gonna start being a lot more active with LinkedIn, because it's a great place to get audience right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to start diving into this and testing it out and seeing how it works.
Yeah, but LinkedIn, the analytics on stuff is not great. It's a little bit challenging, like compared to an Instagram of like comparing post to post how things did. You can kind of see when you look in your like post feed, but it's not the cleanest. The analytics aren't great, but you can get a pretty good idea. And I think if you see the stuff that's getting a lot of engagement, figuring out how to do more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why like I had found previously, that's why I mentioned kind of more personal stuff, and not necessarily just personal about my personal life, but personal as in like a picture, instead of it just being a behind the scenes picture of people that maybe nobody on my feed knows. If I'm in the behind the scenes photo, I find that gets way more engagement.
Yep, absolutely. Because that's the people that already follow you. But one thing to be very cautious of, because you haven't put out a lot of business content specifically that's a little bit more lead focused, keep in mind that the people that you're connected with now might be too much friends and not enough actual prospect.
Okay.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
When you're deciding, like, as you start aggressively posting, or you post more, your content has this focus on it, the lead generation. How do I provide value so someone would trust me to do business? Yeah. Which is, content marketing. If there's not a lot of that going out and it's getting stuff, you might find the engagement goes down for a while until you add the people that actually care about it.
Oh, interesting.
So just something to think about. Because you might start posting and you're like, wait, all this is not working now, so there's a problem. So it's, just be conscious of that.
A different market. Okay, that makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah. One other question I had for you was in regards to basically positioning myself as an authority, because that's something that I've wanted to do more of, and sort of get myself out there in situations like this, and kind of putting myself out there, potential speaking opportunities, and, kind of thinking about potentially, in the future, maybe doing webinars.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on that? How successful do you think that would be for me as a sort of marketing tool?
Yeah, I think because you're it's going to do well.
Okay.
I think you've got that thing that it takes to have an audience, get speaking. Like, you're very well spoken, you're very articulate, you've got a good whatever you want to call it for that. So that's good. I would say webinars are kind of weird. I haven't really played a lot, so I don't have a lot to say about webinars. They can be good. They're best for software and online products that have a quicker $20 a month, buy this thing or subscribe to this thing, or come by my whatever it is. So I don't know how it would fit in specifically for that.
For a bigger
I would
ticket
say
service.
I would say for that I would think about longer form, like video content that you could share out as like a, hey, have you ever been curious about this? And maybe even running ads. So one cool thing with YouTube, and this is how I'm promoting the podcast right now, and it's doing really well with YouTube ads. So people go on Google and they search for whatever they search for, right? It might be, how do I be on camera? How do I, whatever that thing is. And if you've created something for specifically to handle that, so I Google that, and then I go wherever I go, I find an article. The next time I go onto YouTube, I see your video because you bought an ad based on that keyword. So mine is marketing ideas for a hip hop artist, or like marketing ideas for a physiotherapist. And so I've got a video that talks about that. And now the next time you go on YouTube, my video saying marketing ideas for a physiotherapist
and I've heard
pops
that's
up.
Quite cost effective. Because you're
so
being very targeted.
It costs me about 2 cents per view.
Wow.
So I've been experimenting with different things, specifically with YouTube, and I'm getting, so not the last 28 days because I've taken the last 2 weeks off, but basically like all of last month, we ran 7 or 8 videos with keywords specific to those videos. And so we bought about 15,000 views, which isn't a huge number, but it's a good sample size.
Good number, yeah.
My podcasts range from 35 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes, depending on, I think this is going to be a lot of the longer ones, which is good. I like longer. And so my pre-roll ad is a 1 hour long podcast. Like, this is going to be a pre-roll ad, this whole fucking video, based on that keyword. My average watch time based on YouTube views right now per video is 19 minutes and 23 seconds.
Wow.
Very
That's awesome.
high.
Yeah.
So if you make long form content that handles that Google search, it could go crazy.
I'm obviously being in video production, I've been very interested in long form content because being in more marketing focused, what we've always been preaching to our clients is shorter. It used to be like, it has to be under 2 minutes, and then it has to be under 1 minute, and then like 30 seconds or under is ideal. And then I remember looking at YouTube, and they said that the most watched videos on YouTube are 10 minutes or longer.
Yeah.
And I think, I recently connected with a company that they're more in film and television production, documentary and stuff, but they're starting to get more into corporate, and they believe that the future of broadcast television is branded content. Yeah. And I thought that was kind of interesting that companies now need to stop being overtly promotional and now need to start creating interesting, engaging, educational content. And so, that's really interesting. Yeah.
And so I would say the more you can create of that, and then chop that up however you need to. So for us, right now, we take this hour and we find some of the highlights, some of the quotes, some of the interesting things. So we'll find 15-second clips for Instagram stories, under 10 minute for Instagram TV. Then YouTube, we'll cut out 3 or 4 3 to 10 minute YouTube videos that'll go out the same week as the full episode. So we have 4 days of posting for YouTube. We'll get, we use this thing called wave.co where it's like you take the picture and put the audio clip and it shows like the little blips. And so those are good shareables. And so we'll take a couple photos and so I'll have on average 15 to 20. But I think if we were to squeeze it, we could probably get 40 things out of the one video.
Yeah, it's amazing that you get so much content out of it.
Yeah, and so you might make a 10-minute video, just like with the ring, or you know your video stuff. But you know what I mean? Like saying, hey, like, are you curious about this? And that can go on LinkedIn, it can go on YouTube, it can be a YouTube ad. Like, there's so many. You could find groups in LinkedIn and in Facebook where that conversation's happening. You could use social listening, like a Wario, to find those types of things. Be like, hey, actually, it's really cool. I did this video. Quora's good. So just that you can distribute it.
Yeah.
But I would say the more you can make with you as the face, talking about really practical or helpful, or maybe it's entertaining, but I feel like you're more like this is a practical problem solving thing. Yeah. Making that, which
not
is
funny.
Fair enough. Which is what I use this platform for. You could do it in this version or something different. Would play really well. And I'll tell you, like, my profile is growing because now I can target really specific people that are going to see this.
Yeah.
I can put it on LinkedIn and it bounces around a bunch, and people are discovering it, saying, "Oh shit! Like that was really helpful. That idea or that piece of software you recommended was a really helpful thing," and that's driving business to us anyway. So it's I think it's
showcasing your expertise.
It's that.
Yeah.
And then if you can do it, especially in video, then you can take little clips, you can take the highlights, you can make more and get more out of every piece that you make. So that'd be the easiest way, especially in the industry you're in.
Yeah, I know we need to do more video. Yeah. I always say it's like the shoemaker who has no shoes. So I know we just we need to get on top of that. Yeah.
And again, I think the best place to start is what are all the concerns that you always get from people when you first go in? What did people come up to you panicked about? What are the most frequently asked questions? You could just start, if you had a list of 20 of those things, and make a series for this and like a video for step one of the, like, there's so much there. And you, from the storytelling background, that'll be easy, guys, for you to dissect. But the best content marketing is the FAQ. Whatever the thing that people are always curious about, answer that before they ask, and then make it look cool and interesting more than just it's on the FAQ page on the website. Like, make that come to life and then distribute that. And that's all the content marketing you'll need. And
so, like you were kind of talking about how you do with this podcast, do you think the best sort of strategy for me would still be to do something maybe longer form, maybe not, a full hour or something, but maybe something 10, 15 minutes, and then also break that down into smaller things that I can post in different platforms depending on things?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can even take it as far as like, maybe the one question can break down into 3 categories. So you make one kind of longer form. Hey, here's the general address of this. We're going to make another video that tackles like this narrow part and then that narrow part. And then those are 3 more videos. So, does it have to be longer form? No. But I would say that people are interested in, like, a 10-minute video is a great place, especially if it's like really hands-on, how-to, practical. People will stop and watch that, especially if you've got some energy and some charisma. That helps. I mean, I watch videos all the time. Like, I don't know if you've ever like had a problem with your computer or your phone. You're like, fuck. You go on YouTube. You're like, how do I do this? And then you watch these people, and they just like, you're really struggling to stay awake long enough to fix your fucking phone. Horrible. So just make it a little bit more charismatic, make it a little more interesting, and then people will tune in, share. One
thing that we've been experimenting more with that I think may help that a bit is interactive video. So this idea of feeling more of like a web experience where you can click to things, and to your point, you're watching a longer format video, but maybe you're looking for something that's halfway through, and you don't need this whole intro bit, and you can just skip to the point you need, type of thing.
You know what else I'm working on right now and I'm thinking about is have you seen the LinkedIn training? They're like really short on like really simple topic, like 30-minute little training videos. LinkedIn Learning, it's what it's called.
Actually, maybe not. I follow LinkedIn sales blog and things like that.
No, so they have a online course platform. Okay. But what I like about it, and why I think it's really smart, and I'm actually using the same strategy for another product I'm working on, is if you can teach someone really, they don't need to know everything about every process. If you could find like a 20-minute, like really impactful thing, and maybe that's a YouTube video as well, I would put that on LinkedIn Learning.
Oh, like you can put your
own courses on LinkedIn Learning.
Oh, you know what? I've seen sponsored ads for it. That's where I've seen it.
And so it has it on every topic. So you could put those in LinkedIn, because then they bounce around, and as people subscribe to them.
Do people sell their content on LinkedIn Learning?
No, it's all free.
It's all
free.
But
you pay it's like $10 a month or $30 a month to buy into it. But then all the courses on it are free. You can make a free one as well, I think. So I don't know about all the technical pieces, but I'm really thinking about that for me, where I'm putting out this kind of stuff anyway. And this other project I'm working on specifically is going to have, hey, small business owner, like, do you ever get stuck on this thing with Instagram? Like, here's a 15-minute how to do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually thinking about putting that content on LinkedIn Learning, because then it lets it bounce around in their ecosystem as well. And it can be the same shit as you're posting somewhere else. Yeah. But it's more of like a 20-minute course, simple course on something specific. So maybe take a look at that.
You just said something that struck something with me. Small business. Do you feel, and I know that there has to be different strategies, but what are your thoughts on targeting a small business owner versus targeting a comms person in a large company?
Yeah.
Where, they're not the business owner.
Yeah.
So they don't give as much of a shit about certain aspects of things, doing things outside of work hours, things like that. So I feel like sometimes it's harder to get their attention. What are your thoughts on that?
It's absolutely true. But getting that person whose job it is to find solutions within the business is also a thing. When you approach a business owner, we both get approached with a ton of different things. Like, I don't want to fucking hear about it. I don't want to buy anything. I don't want a new.
Only if you need it.
I don't want a new invoicing system. Like, you know how much shit that's going to take to deal. I've you know what I mean? I have 30 minutes a month that I dedicate to doing this. You want me to change platforms? Like, fuck off. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. So it is harder to sell to a small business owner because they don't have time and they're juggling everything. So I would reverse engineer that with a small business owner. It's literally like, how can I save you time and money and you're not going to have to do any work? Yeah. That's the pitch. With that guy, it's like, hey, did you know that this helps this? And then if you tell your boss this information, it'll help, and we can help you with that information. Yeah. Then you've got my attention. Can you make me look good to the people above? Can you make my life easier, my job easier, or make me look good? Making me look good is probably the number one thing.
That's what I hear all the time. Yeah. It's like, how are you going to make them look good to their bosses?
Yeah, and so whether that's a white paper, and just making sure with proper content marketing that you're not the answer to the problem. You're just the provider of information, and you're here's the practical thing you need to know, but not like, oh, and by the way, you should come do business with me. That should never be how it ends. It should always be a standalone. If you never talk to me again, you'd be really happy with this piece of content. And then whether you email them again later or something, that's fine, but the content that you put out, whatever that is, it has to be standalone.
Okay.
It has to be.
And with white papers and stuff, do you feel like that is potential or could be push marketing? Or do you consider white papers more like you post it somewhere and then somebody,
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the strategy of that thing. It's hard to say. Okay. What I would say, to me, it doesn't have to be a white paper. To me, it could be a video that explains or whatever that thing that makes sense. Like, I've got some that's like long form blog content with screenshots because I'm showing you how to do something in Facebook ads that like a video would kind of be a waste. So it's like a screenshot with click this button, do that. So there's different strategies depending on who it is. What I would say is if you've got a profile of the people you're trying to speak to, then understand how most of them want to consume or can consume or do consume, and then give it to them that way. Path of least resistance. But I would reverse engineer it. Like, again, so you wouldn't send a white paper to the owner of something. Like, I don't have time for that crap. Yeah. But the person's like, hey, do you want to look smart on this topic? Like, here's the thing. And they're like, oh, I do. That's great. Like, there's have you ever heard of a newsletter called The Hustle? It's like a daily marketing newsletter. Okay. And like their Facebook ad is a quote, which is basically just like, everybody in my office thinks I'm so friggin' smart, and it's just because I read this thing every morning, because it's like really well written, good storytelling, but it's like news and stuff in business and marketing, and it's a really cool newsletter. It's written by amazing copywriters, and it's fun and entertaining, but then you're the Amazon, nuggets. Did you know Amazon did this? And here's like a couple like deeper points other than just a headline. So they do a good job. And so that's like their biggest things. Like, hey, do you just want to sound smarter in meetings? We'll send you something at 9 a.m. that'll prep you your day and make you look smarter. So they understand that, somebody in a marketing position or whatever probably doesn't have time to a lot of time to dedicate. So you can read this thing in 5 minutes, and I get excited to get it every morning because I'm like, oh, what am I going to find out about for the day?
Yeah.
And that's my ammo of like, I don't pay much attention to the news, so that's like my version of the news.
Yeah.
So that was a great product for me. So I would just figure out like how those people consume content and what they're motivated by, and then just figure out. And you can test, right? It might be a long-form video, it might be a white paper. You might want to try sending them both and see how people respond. There's never really like this is the thing that you have to do.
Yeah, it's
you
a lot about testing and analyzing and
a little bit
readjusting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Well, a lot of takeaways. So
yes. Sorry, LinkedIn. Don't cut off my account. I love you. Just kidding.
Why? Is anything we talked about not
no?
kosher,
Well, LinkedIn.
Or?
So like, you're not supposed to use automated tools, technically on LinkedIn. So that's why LinkedIn Helper like looks like you're going through the profiles. It's more of a joke. I don't think you're really supposed to use it, but I don't really care. I would rather like once every 2 months my account gets like suspended for a couple days. Like, it's fine.
But do you know that there's actually like a limit?
Yeah.
Of how many people you can connect with? I read some article that this guy posted, and he actually went to LinkedIn and was like, LinkedIn, I'm so sorry. I was just adding people willy-nilly, and I did not realize that I was going to get basically, I don't know, maybe he was at 10,000 people or something, and it was like, I had no idea that there's a limit.
Right.
And I need to continue connecting. I love using LinkedIn and connecting with people. And then they extended the limit. Yeah. So apparently, from my understanding, they will do that if you have a good excuse.
And usually, honestly, it's like just a couple days, a slap on the wrist.
Oh, really?
And even with like even with Instagram, some of the tools that we use on there, we get slapped on the wrist 5 times a month.
Oh, really?
It's fine. Like unless you're doing something malicious, like sending porn spam, and like they're not gonna do it.
But they recognize this is just like a business owner or like trying to be out here hustling. Yeah,
but there is always a risk. There is always a risk to like they could take down your profile. Could happen, but I don't know. I just don't, as long as you don't abuse it and as long as you understand what the limits are and kind of stay. And a lot of these tools are like, hey, their limit is this. And then when the limit updates, they're like, hey, the limit's now this. So they're very like on top of it for the most part, these tools, so that you're not getting in shit. Because if people started losing accounts using them, they would just go to business.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, for sure.
Something that's been around for a long time that you've seen, you see on their blog, they're constantly updating that information. Yeah. And I just use it based on like a network of online marketing guys. I'm like, hey, what's the majority of you guys using? And I usually get my answers through that. I don't. Because it's like, you could land on a website that, this website looks great, and it's some sketchy program. So I always bounce it around, vet it, make sure people are using it, talk to some people that are using it just to make sure, especially when it's like not something you're not supposed to do. But the ones I suggested today, I've been using the LinkedIn Helper just recently, but I know people that have used it for a while. Okay. And Sales Navigator is part of it, so you can use that as much as you want.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming. And I'm excited to watch your LinkedIn blow up in the next couple of months.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Stay tuned.
That's right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, and we'll connect again.
Yeah, thanks so much for all this advice. It was awesome.
Awesome. Thanks.